Hello, welcome to Glee on the Rocks. This is a special episode, I suppose, where we are going to be doing a little tribute to the late, great Naya Rivera. I am Emily.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm B.
And this is going to be our space and time where we talk about Naya and her, I think we can say, best well-known character, Santana Lopez. Although obviously she has acted before Glee and after, right? She had some.
Yeah.
There was a show she was on, Devious Maids, I think.
Oh yeah.
So Glee is not her only credit, although it is, I think, what she is most well known for.
I can say that she is the entirely how to phrase it, but the Glee cast member that I've been a fan of for the longest because I loved Gwendolyn on Family Matters.
Oh, mm-hmm.
It was Richie's little girlfriend, and I grew up on that show. So
nice. So you were a fan before it was cool.
I was, but I mean, if you haven't seen her in that, look up Naya Rivera. Family Matters.
Well, she would have been a little girl.
Oh yeah, she was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when an actress or actor becomes famous for a role in their 20s, and then everyone looks back and like, oh, they've been acting before in their childhood. Like, yeah, how do you think?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's a lot easier now to break in as a late teen, early 20s because you can. I mean, I don't want to say. No, I am going to say. Your social media following is taken into account by casting directors, which is insane to me. But your social media presence and your followers does now, I mean, we'll see with COVID and movie theaters being closed, but it is factored into what they think they can get from you in terms of distribution, right? So if you're like a famous YouTuber, they think that will help get distribution down the line because you're like a known name.
That makes sense.
But you know, not too long ago, you started out as a kid and you kind of worked your way up. And I don't know how many of the Glee cast members really did start out as kids.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I never thought to. I mean, Darren Criss was acting on stage in his little prep school.
Yeah.
But yeah, not on like TV. Kevin was in a boy band.
Chris Culver was basically a child when he started.
Yeah, right. This was his childhood role.
Yeah.
He used to do stage plays too, though. He was he did A Christmas Story. He was Ralphie. Remember those pictures?
Oh yeah. Leah did some stage acting as a kid.
Oh yeah, she was on Broadway, right? Les Miserables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you know, I don't know that Naya got the same acclaim as Santana that some of the other actors got for their roles on the same show. That show being Glee, obviously. That's what we're talking about here. But I think during the show, Chris Colfer got his Golden Globe, and Jane Lynch had been a well-known actress. But I don't know that Naya got the same acclaim.
Well, it depends on how you like quantify that too. Because did she get awards, nominations, or something? No, I think she won like a People's Choice, Teen Choice type awards. But like, was she getting Golden Globes and stuff? No, but I think she was a fan favorite for sure.
Yes. And they did get, I think the cast got some ensemble awards early on, like a Screen Actors Guild. So it looks like she won. Yeah, so they won the Screen Actors Guild in 2010 as an ensemble, which is actually a really interesting category. And I think ensemble casts are so important, right? Like, I think that's an underrated category. And she did win a Gold Derby TV award for Best Comedy Supporting Actress a couple times, ALMA awards.
Aren't the ALMA awards for Latinx actors and actors?
Yeah, American. Well, it said I think the official title, at least at the time, was American Latino Media Arts Award. I don't know if they're going to change it to Latinx or not. That's a different That's a different story. And then she also won a People's Choice as favorite TV gal pals with Leah Michele, which I find
What year was
fascinating.
that?
2014.
Fascinating.
So that would have been
It's at the
when
end.
they're all in New York,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, like, uh, I mean, not that she and Brittany were gal pals, but they were gal pals.
Yeah,
Like that would have made a little more sense to me,
a lot more sense. Yeah.
a lot more sense. They were nominated for some Grammys, which I always thought was interesting. So she got acclaim, but I don't remember there being the same kind of like Chris Colfer breakout of Glee and Leah Michele, blah 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 blah. And
Although Naya did have some ventures after Glee. She had a single that came out.
Mhm.
She wrote a book,
Yeah, she did.
both entitled "Sorry Not Sorry." She
Mhm, mhm,
had a
mhm.
thing going. Yeah. So she definitely translated, I think, her Glee success into personal success. 'Cause you mentioned she was in another show as well. I didn't remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Devious Maids.
And then she also had like personal thing, like she had a kid.
She
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. And some ups and downs, I think, in her personal life, but you know.
Mhm,
I like the way that Chris described it. Um, that she always wanted to be a mother, and that was always something that she really wanted and aspired to be.
mhm.
Yeah, a lot of the social media posts I saw were, and that's hard to see, but nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the privacy issues of, this kid gets blasted across social media because of this, but at the same time it is nice to see a side of someone that you don't normally get to see, and a side of them that they really seem to um, value.
She also was on one of those morning talk shows for a while, the talk or the chat or the
Hmm.
something. Because I remember
Mhm.
that's where she kind of publicly came out as bisexual for the first time. They like asked her
Mhm.
some kind of question there, and she just
Mhm.
kind of point blank said it, which was really cool.
Do you think it's interesting that that never got the same sort of attention and traction that other statements that happened? Like, I feel like I don't remember that statement being a big deal. Not that it's
It
such a weird thing,
definitely
right?
was.
Like, not that it should
Yeah,
be, but it should.
I don't know. I have a lot of feelings on how like women coming out as bi is minimized by the media.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Absolutely.
drama when a man comes out as bi because it almost never happens. But it's
Right.
like a Katy Perry hand wave moment when a woman
Mhm.
does. Like, oh, great, so you kissed a girl, okay. Like,
Right.
Right.
what that means, but you know,
Well, it's all about that patriarchy,
yeah,
attraction to men is what really matters. So when a woman says she's bi, she's just wanting attention. When a guy says he's bi, he's really just gay and all that
Right.
jazz.
Or like when a woman says she's bi, she just means that she found another girl attractive once in her life.
Right.
You know?
And
Like,
especially if
no,
she's
that's
already in a relationship with a man. It's just like, okay, well,
uh-huh. Like, actually, that's not that means. But yeah,
which
you
is
brought that
bullshit.
up.
We
Yeah, you
support
mentioned
all
that, and I was like,
bisexuals on this pod.
all bisexual women, except for the shitty ones. Looking at you, turfs. Um,
we can
can just
go ahead and add swerves to that too, because there's been a lot of that lately.
Right. Turf
wait,
and
explain that one to me. Wait, what's swerf? What have I missed?
What's like sex workers, right?
Oh,
yeah,
oh, sex
sex
workers.
work
Okay, I was like, hold
exclusion.
on.
Yeah.
Which I also like. I'm not gonna say I saw a lot of this because I did not seek out places on the internet where people would have been talking badly about Naya, but I
Mm,
definitely in searching like for things about her during, especially during the week when they were looking for her. Yeah, a
hmm.
lot of people were posting her racier photos with some
Right.
not entirely polite comments. Not
Yeah.
that Naya was a sex worker, but just like the kind of like adjacent, like controlling her own sexuality and posting pictures of herself that she was happy with.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Uh, yeah,
Well, I mean, definitely posting a photo of yourself where you're less than clothed automatically gets you labeled negatively, even though
yeah,
if you don't, you're the prude. Like it's 2020 and we're still in the Virgin Madonna problem. where either
Yeah.
you're too sexy or you're not sexy enough. And if you post pictures of yourself, you're attention seeking. But if you don't, you're trying to hide that you're ugly. Like, Jesus, are we not? Can we let Naya post pictures of her abs?
She put them out there to be appreciated, and I appreciated them.
Yeah. Like, let us look at her. She looks good. You're not
Like,
complaining about the guys posting shirtless pics. Like,
and it's not leaked nudes. It's not,
right.
something shameful that like she didn't have control over. I don't know. I Naya probably of the cast, I think, got the worst of that. She always had
Hmm.
a I mean, even on the show, they didn't hesitate to make jokes about
Hmm.
her body in a way other actors and
She got the worst of that, even though she
yeah,
was not involved in the photo shoot. I think it was for Rolling Stone, where Leah and Diana were in
Right.
oh yeah,
sexual, at the time, sexually
yeah,
suggestive clothing with Corey. And everyone was up in arms because they were playing it was that Britney Spears problem where they were playing high school students and the show was geared towards a younger audience. And there they were in like mini skirts and knee highs
yep.
and like straddling a bench. Like, okay, but is that is that the sexiest thing we've ever seen in our lives? Probably not. So fucking chill. But they didn't have to carry the stigma of that with them for
Yeah,
years. Leah Michelle posts herself in bikinis, I don't know, 82% of the time and doesn't face.
she really does. And
Honestly, I think, and I think you said this, but it's the thin white woman problem.
yeah,
Where it's not, you don't get the same shit when you're a thin white woman with no chest to speak of than if you're posting the same bikini, the same pose, and you have more than an A cup. Suddenly,
and
it's inappropriate.
especially like I don't know. I'm not the person that should talk about this, so actually maybe we can edit this out. But I do feel like Latin American women are sexualized more to begin with.
Stereotyped that way. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I don't think that's unfair to say.
It's not. I just that's the kind of thing where I'm like, well, as a white woman, but it's more a commentary on how society treats
Yeah.
about
But Glee also brought that in too. Like there was the complete all the time running joke about Santana's boob job. Like
oh yeah,
Mhm.
who called her sandbags. Like that was
Yep.
just her nickname, her name to Sue. Like
yeah,
nobody else had such a like something that could be construed as sexual.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I mean, even um I don't even think when the guys had to do their photo shoot, they're like shirtless was it it wasn't for Christmas. I can't actually remember where all the guys did like sexy
Oh, they did
a
like a
calendar shoot.
calendar shoot. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and they weren't they weren't mocked the same way. And Darren slash Blaine had a whole episode of twerking,
oh yeah.
Right.
which is fucked up in its own right. And we'll get there, but yeah, the criticism and the critique and the pearl clutching over it being a woman with a figure, it gets old and it gets tiring, and I'm sure it is dragging when you're the actress because it's not. I don't recall people talking about her singing ability the same way they did um, Leah and also Amber,
Yeah, she didn't get a lot of coverage.
which is like shame because she's
She's a
phenomenal.
really good singer.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked recently about Mercedes getting pushed aside for Rachel and Mercedes being and Amber really being the better all-around singer, but Naya's fucking
She's
up
pretty
there.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that's a natural ability that does not get the credit that was due. Um,
One of
I
my
would have
favorite
been.
things is that, like, she gets a solo at that competition, she sings Valerie, and that's the
Mhm,
only non-Rachel solo at a competition that has no storyline leading up to it, like, there's no, like, drama or, like, fighting
mhm,
about it, and which is so interesting and strange to me, like, I don't really know what that means,
mm.
but or if it means anything, I don't know, it's Glee, but, I think that I was thinking about Naya's performances and some of my favorites, and I had such a long list. Like, she honestly got a lot of good solos and performances throughout the seasons. I think she stayed a main character. Like she became more of a main character in season 2 and really stayed a main character to the end, unlike some other voices that could have been competitive with Leah. Like
Mhm.
Mercedes, isn't a main character anymore after a little bit. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think Naya deserved even more acclaim than she got when she was on Glee. I think especially once they moved to New York, she gets a little bit more attention because
Mhm.
she's now one of only like what 3 main characters in New York.
Yeah. Mhm.
Spotlight her a little bit more, but yeah.
Um, I know we've kind of moved on to talking about Naya and Glee, but I actually did some more reading about her early career. If you
Mhm.
want to go back to that a little, because it's
Oh,
actually
yeah, yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
This is free flowing, man.
yeah, so she got cast in a sitcom called The Royal Family in 1991. She was 4 years old, and the show was like actually a hit. But Red Fox, the actor,
Mhm.
suffered a heart attack and died on set.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
So she got close to him and then watched him die.
wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
So she also got nominated for an award for that season of that like sitcom,
Hmm.
the Young Artist Award.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
at 4.
she was also in she was in a lot of black sitcoms. And it, like the stuff I was reading referred to it as like the golden age for black sitcoms. Like she was in The Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Family Matters, Smart Guy, the I can't think of the Bernie Mac show.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but like as she got older, she basically was like not able to find roles as easily because she either wasn't black enough or wasn't Latina enough, like for the
Oh,
roles.
right.
Yeah,
You're too much of one thing, but not enough of something else to meet some
yeah,
weird casting.
basically like as she got like older.
Mhm.
But yeah, she was in a few more sitcoms as like one or two roles, and then she was actually in a musical in 2006 and 2007. She was
Hmm.
in the LA production and on the national tour.
Interesting.
And she auditioned for American Idol, but was cut in the first round.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, so
What?
that. Those are the notes that I like copied down about her early career.
How do you I mean, okay, well, I don't wanna say I've never watched American Idol because it's been on,
Yeah,
what, our whole life at this point?
yeah.
I've never watched a full season, but I've seen some of the people who make it through just by osmosis, and how okay.
I have
Was
seen a
she
full
was
season when
she
I
too
was
brown?
probably when I was a kid, we didn't have cable, we only had, like, local stations, and so we had it was on Fox, I think, back then, and so we did watch American Idol, like, back I
Mhm.
saw, like, Kelly Clarkson season and stuff, and that is wild to me. Wild.
Yeah. Whatever, American Idol. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Wow, they really dropped the ball on that one. Well,
Yeah.
their loss, our game.
I know, right?
Also, this is not related to an acting career, but in the times between she was like slightly aging out of the cute little kid roles in her like late teens, actually probably into her 20s, like a few years before Glee, she worked as a telemarketer, a nanny, and an Abercrombie and Fitch greeter.
Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those were her struggling actor jobs.
Yeah, those sound right. That sounds like,
Yeah.
the early career of someone trying to make it. Mhm, mhm.
She auditioned for Glee. She said because she was a fan of Nip Tuck, but like I don't know. I feel like saying that you were a fan of the creator's previous shows is probably a given for anyone auditioning for a new show.
Yes. Yeah, you don't generally go in there and be like, "Who are you?" You generally pick, like, 1 or 2 projects that you can lie enough about. Like, "Oh my god, I'm such a big fan of your work, these 2 movies that everyone knows." I wonder if she was getting typecast too
I read an interesting
after.
article about I don't remember who wrote it but I just remember there was a quote from her about being an Afro Latina and like kind of navigating both of those spheres. Because when she was
Mhm,
younger, she mostly got roles on black sitcoms. And then as she got older, she was getting more roles, as a Latina and like never really got to be,
mm,
embody a character that was her kind of whole self. So she
Yeah.
always kind of had to like navigate both worlds, and like
it's
obviously never wide enough with both of those
Yeah.
with that
yeah.
background either. Yeah.
There's something about looking at a woman like Naya and being like, I don't know, too Latinx, too black. Like, how? What is this role even?
Yeah.
She's playing a cheerleader in a high school.
Right.
Chill. Have the representation that there is an in between. There are mixed race students. There are mixed cultural backgrounds. There are
I mean, there's
everything in a high
literally
school.
no reason Santana couldn't have been just as black as she was Latina.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason they had to like pick, like nothing about her character dictated that like her family not be mixed in the way that Naya herself is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like we had Mercedes and you couldn't have anything encroaching. Like, okay, we have a black character, we only get the one. Now we have our Latinx character, we get the one, and just filling these uh, slots
Right.
to meet some weird diversity picture that uh, I don't know. Like you get one of each, and then everyone else is white.
Yeah,
That was
that's
par for the course back then. That's like
yeah.
the
Yeah,
best you could ask for. Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, it's not even that uncommon now. Like
that's
there are
true.
a few shows that are like try to do it better. Sometimes I'm like flipping through network television looking, I'm like, wow, that
Yeah,
is yeah.
yeah. Watching old shows is hard because you're just thinking like, what the fuck? You kind of forget tokenism being so in your face sometimes. Not that we're really getting better. I think maybe we're just hiding it better. It's nonsense. I'm curious what her acting goals would have been, post Glee with Josie being old enough that you're not,
Yeah.
you can maybe take another acting role and not feeling like you're you're leaving your kid behind for 18-hour days, that they're old enough to
She
do that.
hadn't done like she has a couple of projects that I think haven't been
Hmm. I know there was
uh
one of those like baking shows that she just appeared on posthumously.
yeah, and she did I don't know if she'd already recorded this or not, but she was going to do some voice work for a Batman special.
Mm, okay.
So yeah, and that's actually not uncommon for a lot of like actors with kids or small
Hmm.
kids to go into voice recording because it's like a lot less time intensive.
It is. Yeah, you're not on set, you're not traveling. There's some, maybe some travel, but yeah, you're not it's not the same.
Yeah,
And it still pays well.
she also had that thing that Adam Shankman did for YouTube. I don't remember what it is.
Oh, YouTube. I've heard of
Was
that.
yeah. It was originally on YouTube, but I think they sold it to Stars. Um,
Stars.
yeah,
Fandom.
Step Up High Water. That's what it was.
Mm.
Oh, that's
Sorry, I had to look it up
right.
with his name. So yeah, she was supposed to be in the third season, but COVID
Right.
means the third season was permanently on hold. Oh, it
Well,
says at the time of her death, the third season was in production, but no timetable was released. So
mm,
I don't know quite what that meant for her role in it.
yeah, that sucks. It's just I'm always curious when you have double, triple threats, which seems like such an antiquated phrase these days, but when you have
That's what she
people
was.
who are yeah, when you have people who are excellent at acting and excellent at singing. And again, like Glee is probably our biggest um the biggest thing to look at for like acting range, but again, I don't know that she got the credit that other characters and other actors did to in her role. Like there was a lot for Santana to do by the end. And of course, a lot of her stuff was overly dramatic at times, but there were these great moments of emotional acting, like the scene with her abuela and some other moments where I don't think she got the credit. But so I was saying, what was I saying? Curious if singing would have been the preferred route or acting or
Mm,
trying to do both via Broadway, via some of those musicals like Grease Live, those
Oh yeah.
that kind of
right.
thing. Like what was the thing that she enjoyed the most? Because I think I don't know for sure. Everyone's different, but it feels like even people who do singing and acting and dancing have something that they love the most.
Yeah, they have like a preference
A
or
preference,
bias.
yeah. And it's one of those like, what would have been the thing that she gravitated towards the most if it was doing a full length album, um, taking on another TV show, taking on a movie, you know?
I would
Where do
have
you
loved to
where do
have
you
seen
go
her.
after a show like Glee?
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen her in like a film with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she would have had the acting try.
Mhm. Yeah, that would have been fun. One of those like actually like a romantic comedy would have been fun cuz she's hilarious. Kind of a
Romantic,
snappy.
romantic, queer comedy with a
Yes.
bisexual Afro Latina lead.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mhm.
I'm just wishful thinking now.
And like maybe around Christmas time.
Lifetime, we could have had it all.
I do love me a good Lifetime slash Netflix Christmas movie, and would love to have
Yeah,
some that don't star white ladies
Right.
because that seems to be the only only thing. But yeah, so I always I want to say like I always think about that, but I think about that with people's careers. Like, what is the thing that you really love to do? Not to like tie Darren and Chris into it, but it is that question of like what which one of these do you like? It's kind of bouncing around like what is the thing that you like? Because Chris Colfer, on the other hand, seems to have very clearly picked the career that he likes, that makes him happy.
I mean, I think not only did he make it clear what he likes, but he made it clear what he didn't like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's like a power move too, to be able to say,
Yeah,
this is the thing and this is where I'm going. Like, would Naya have picked, or would she have played the field a bit and kind of tested the waters and seen what's out there for her, and who, you don't want to be like who's going to hire her, but
yeah.
people can be shitty about the actors that they hire.
Especially because she did have some negative media attention.
Mhm.
Right.
Like she was sort of tabloid fodder
Yeah.
um a few times.
Yeah. I mean, you almost can't avoid that after a certain level of notoriety, and Glee was a big show.
Um I will say one of the things I have either of you read her book?
I have not.
No, I
No.
haven't. No.
Did
So
you?
I read it when it first came out, but I feel like I don't know, I didn't really absorb it well. I focused in on a lot of the Glee things related to other like actors that I was more interested in.
Mhm.
So I don't like have a great memory of all of it. But one thing I do remember, her talking about in the book was that she had an abortion in 2010, and like stuff
Oh,
like that made me wish that I had followed her career
right. Mhm.
more often, followed her
Yeah.
personally more often. I don't know, just like props to any woman in Hollywood who is unafraid to say that
Yeah.
and just normalize that. And I think she was unashamed about a lot of things
Mhm.
that got her some of the negative press, but also
Right.
like made her amazing.
That's an impressive thing to say out loud in
Yeah,
this country.
yeah,
It shouldn't be, but like Jesus, yeah. I mean, I want to be like good for her, but like good for her.
yeah. I mean, as with like any woman in that position, like it sucks to be in a position where you need an abortion,
Mhm.
but sometimes it happens. Yeah, props for her for being like open about it.
Yeah, because you really don't hear that.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel like I need to read her book.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest it. I'm gonna reread it. Because like I
Yeah.
said, I feel a little bit now. I was, I wanted the Leah tea. I wanted,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Hmm. So, one thing we had talked a little bit about before was the grief process when it's
Mhm.
not a personal connection. And it's fucking weird, isn't it?
It's very weird. Yeah.
Like, when a celebrity dies, it's a weird fucking experience for everybody else. And I don't think that there's anyone who can rightfully say that they're immune to it. Like, I think a lot of us want to be like, it doesn't affect me. I didn't know that person personally. What do I care? But we all fucking care
Yeah.
because
You
deep down in our lizard brains, like celebrities are little mini gods that we put up on pedestals whether we want to or not.
and they're like people that we've spent a lot of our lives with, even if it
Yeah.
wasn't like them as a person. Like the number of hours of my life I've spent looking at Naya's face.
Right. Yeah.
Like surpasses a lot of people I know in my actual life.
Yeah. I've seen her face more than yours.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Much more.
Like, and that's,
It's like it's impossible for someone not to like live in your head at
yeah.
that point.
And
Yeah.
that, I mean, in the end, that is the point of celebrities,
Yeah,
is that they get in your head and then you pay stuff. You pay for their things. Like that's the
yeah,
economy that we have built around celebrity. Is you just, I don't know that we need to explain that to people, the
yeah.
psychology behind celebrity, but that is some powerful fucking shit, even if you don't want it to be.
I think
Parasocial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
literally what Hollywood's built on.
Did who coined that? Was, I mean, you were the first person I heard say that,
I
but
don't know who coined it. It's a very common term
yeah.
for YouTubers. Like a lot of them, especially like,
Oh
are you familiar with what BreadTube is?
no. Okay,
It's
listen,
like
I know what YouTube is, and I use it to watch Seth Meyers in the morning and to do yoga, and that's about the extent of my YouTubing.
let me reset my vocabulary to grandma mode.
Yes. I mean, I am social media. I want to say that I know most shit, but I
Yeah,
somehow missed YouTube other than like watching a specific thing that I wanted to watch. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I
Um,
go and I put into the search term like I want to watch the Supernatural panel at Comic-Con from 2011. I don't
and the magic tube box gives you the pretty images.
exactly
But yeah, it's basically just like psychological
dependence.
philosophy YouTubers. I don't know.
Oh, BreadTube is.
BreadTube is, yeah.
It's psycho
Anyway,
it's not just people baking?
no,
What?
strangely, it is nothing to do. Actually, I'm sure some of them bake sometimes, but no, it's philosophy type channels.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, that's where I was introduced to the parasocial thing. But
Okay. I mean,
it's a
it's
very
accurate.
yeah, it's just a very good general term for like putting a name to what happens when you are very emotionally attached to someone who doesn't know you exist.
Yes. Yep, yep. And it's a I don't want to say it's a trap. I don't want to say it's a trap that we fall into, but it is where
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think you can really help it if you are invested in a piece of media. Not just
Yeah, you
TV,
can't.
right? Like any
Yeah.
media.
You can be self-aware about it, but
Mhm.
you can't really avoid it. Apparently, I just looked it up. It was coined in 1956 by
Jesus.
yeah. So, yeah, it's the one-sided relationship media users form as a result of exposure to media personas. So basically, as long as there's been TV,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's been a thing.
See, I
I
do think we should have an entire podcast just about fandom. Like, I'm gonna work on
That
that.
yeah, that would be good.
I feel like Glee did us one better too because of the songs. Like, there were so many songs that I
Right.
heard for the first time
Oh
on
yeah,
Glee, um,
yeah.
and Naya's voice is attached to those songs for me, you know? Like,
Mhm.
I listen to Amy Winehouse and I think about Naya,
Mhm.
and other songs too, that's just what's coming to mind first, and, I feel like that really even further cemented, like, our love for these characters. It's 'cause it didn't end when the show ended,
Mhm.
you had the music and then, of course, fandom itself, but even people who weren't necessarily in fandom would listen to Glee music,
And you
and so
listen to it often,
yeah,
right?
there's just
Like,
this
it's
extra level. They were my, like, number 1 artist on
yep.
Spotify for, like, 2 or
Yeah.
3 years, so
Enough that it does take over the original artist too, which is another
Right,
level. Like, I don't think of Katy Perry when I think of Teenage Dream.
right.
Yeah, no,
And
not at
if
all.
I'm listening to Rumor Has It, my brain adds in someone like you.
Yeah,
I mean, Smooth Criminal exists only when done by
yeah,
Grant and Naya.
Yep.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Like, I hear some other band covered it, but it's not nearly as good.
Some other band. That one guy,
Yeah,
Never
I
heard of
heard he
them.
was popular.
I don't
yeah.
know. Especially for I mean, God, I'm younger than you guys, but I'm thinking about the kids who are watching Glee now who are younger than me, like,
Mhm.
there really is a whole generation plus maybe of people that are being introduced to this music through the lens of these characters that they love, and
Mhm.
it's and the actors as well, like, the Glee cast members were such a part of everyone's, like, social media life and just,
Yeah.
keeping tabs on them and what they were doing and what awards they were winning and events they were attending, and Santana and Naya both and separately and together were just permeated people's lives. And it's hard to grieve when it's like I've only ever seen this person or heard her voice through a media, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know her. And
I don't know her, but I know her.
exactly, and you don't get any closure really because all these ways that you interacted with her are still there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's when a family member dies, you have photos that you can flip through and memorabilia, but when a celebrity dies, you just turn on Netflix and there they are.
Like the flip side of that is that get to grieve a celebrity with a lot of other people. Like,
Mm. Mhm.
and not everyone to the same extent of understanding it, because there's definitely some people that are like, that was just a celebrity. What do you care? But like, especially when they were attached to a fandom, like to yeah, to some level, the entire Glee fandom felt it. People who haven't even been involved in the fandom for years
Mhm.
probably just like had multiple moments.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that gut punch where you're like,
Yeah,
that critical piece of my psyche in 2009 through 14 or
Mhm.
15 or whatever it was, where you're like, it's gone.
Right.
and like if you want to like let yourself mourn it, like all it takes is picking up Twitter or Instagram, like
Mhm.
or Tumblr. I
What's
guess I
that?
should say Tumblr does exist.
What's
Uh,
that? What's I don't know her.
but
Are we
yeah,
still at,
like
is that over? Do we not say that anymore? Mm.
It's
we
never
keep it
over.
secret so all the other people stay away.
That's right.
You've seen Twitter lately? I don't want them back.
Oh my god. Talk about a parasocial relationship. Oh god, Twitter.
I don't know if we want to bring up Corey at this juncture, but
Oh
you know,
yeah.
about the grieving process. When I found out that Corey Monteith died, I was actually with some fandom friends who had come to
Mm.
like stay with me for the weekend. Just happened to be together, and that that whole communal. I mean, the whole world mourned Corey.
Mhm.
It was in the middle of what season five,
Yeah.
season four of Glee when Glee was still pretty peaking. And having to kind of deal with that cast and crew, you know, putting it into the storylines, like, yeah, it feels it makes me sad. I think that Naya and Santana can't like get that same
Mhm.
kind of treatment. Like, I definitely still feel like it's a global mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Corey tribute episode is just so beautiful. And actually, Naya's song, when
Mhm.
she sings "If I Die Young," is really probably one of my favorite scenes from it, because she just does such a brilliant job. But yeah, I kind of it's interesting the process is the same and yet it's different.
Yeah, and we're not gonna we I mean, we got a communal grieving with Naya because there is still Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, like, those communities are still there if fractured and smaller, but it's still there to go and see everyone's responses, and then you get the cast giving their memories, which allows you a
Mhm.
glimpse into their mourning process.
It's it's kind of better I think the show wasn't still on, because we had to have closure for not just Corey but Finn,
Right.
Mhm,
because the show was still ongoing. Santana can live forever, which is,
mhm.
kind of
Yeah,
nice. I mean,
I like that.
I don't know how booming the Glee fan fiction community is, but I'm assuming it's still. It's nice to imagine that like Santana gets to live happily with forever.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah,
And we don't have to worry about a dissatisfying ending for her
Yeah.
character.
right,
And I mean, with Corey, with Finn, like they chose not to say how he died, which
right.
I appreciated.
I liked that. Yeah,
yeah, I did too. But still, that you had to see Rachel move on.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's hard knowing that the actors had another relationship on top of their cast's relationship that I'm glad that we didn't have to see another round of the cast mourning
Yeah,
as their characters.
Right.
That's
because
I
that
mean,
had to be
again,
hard on them too.
yeah, and that's a lot to ask for someone to do as their job, I think. And I know that they talked about it as a group of when they were going to come back to the show, but that's a lot to ask, I think.
I feel like, I mean, and of course COVID puts a whole nother layer in there too. Like I can't imagine like her friends and family not being really able to gather and
Mm-hmm.
We know that a handful of them did at the
right.
lake, which is, I don't know. That's also a gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It
'Cause, I
was,
mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of drama between this cast. There's a lot
Oh,
of like
is there?
quippiness. Yeah. But I don't know, seeing the genuine
Mm-hmm.
like Kevin and Naya, like Kevin's posts
Mm-hmm.
pretty much broke my heart. He and Naya were like close. Like
Yeah.
actually very close. And he I mean, he's talked a lot on his own social media about how they met.
Mm-hmm.
Like wasn't it that she met his dad first?
Yeah, at a car lot.
Yeah, his dad sold her a car and then told Kevin look out for her.
I
Yeah.
didn't oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember when Glee was on, Kevin was like not out yet. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if people thought Kevin was gay or not. I kind of assumed he was. And the first thing that made me think, oh, this guy isn't straight is when the paparazzi pictures came out of him wedding dress shopping with Naya. Because in the same year, Kevin was also like on vacation with Jenna. And I remember seeing lots of like, of the, I don't know,
Mm-hmm. Are they
oh,
dating?
blind items and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Right.
But yeah, but the Naya thing, I don't know. That just for some reason that's a very fond fandom memory to me.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing like paparazzi pictures of Kevin like wedding dress shopping with Naya, like that was adorable.
Yeah, there were, I mean, obviously we don't know half of what the cast really thinks of each other, but you could see the real friendships
Yeah,
if you looked.
and they were not always the
Mm-mm.
Instagram popular
Nope. What are you
social
talking
media.
about? Obviously they're best friends. It's a lot, especially because this isn't the like we were saying, it's not the first rodeo for this fandom and for the cast. I don't
Yeah,
have another show where something like this has happened multiple times. Like I don't there's not another property that I am invested in that experiences this.
it's weird. I mean, I don't believe in a glitch, but
Some
it's
bad luck.
strange to.
It is. Yeah. And there's something I mean, we know what the Glee fandom is like and was like. It's it's almost apropos in a way. In like a terrible way that a fandom so toxic
Yeah,
has some of the worst experiences. It's
it's
a
sad.
bizarre it's like a bizarre I don't even know. Like, oh, maybe if we'd been nicer to each other. But that's not how the world works.
I know. I feel like talking about a Glee curse is like silly, obviously. Like it really minimizes a lot of real world consequences. I think it's easy for casual Glee fans, or I guess they're not fans then. Casual Glee knowers, watchers, to kind of be flippant about it. But it's it's hard. Like I can't think of another show that's had this much loss and pain so soon with such a
Mhm.
young cast.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are contributing factors. Like, all of this has happened in the past 8 years, I think, seven
Mhm.
years, and all between like cast members in their like mid 20s to mid 30s. Like,
Right.
it's not something you're emotionally.
No.
It's not like being a Golden Girls fan in the
Yeah,
90s.
right. Yeah, it's not the same inevitability.
And I'm like, it does make me want to protect the rest of the cast. Like, I will give in to that, like, parasocial urge. Like, I'm a
Put them
little
in a bubble.
stressed. Yeah. I just really want to be like, guys, make good decisions, take care of yourselves. Even though, bad decisions are not what led to some of these.
Yes, to the protecting the cast in a bubble point.
Yeah. I feel really privileged though that we have I mean, it's such a tragedy that Corey and Naya died so young, but I do feel really privileged that we had these performances that they gave like encapsulated forever. Like I love that Naya's role on Glee was just so larger than life, over the top, like
Mhm.
really showed her talents and her
Yeah.
And you know, the more the cast talks about her, the more I kind of see how the character of Santana was in ways really similar to her. And I love that that is, you know, recorded forever and
Yeah.
something that she leaves
Mhm.
behind that mark on the world. And all the work she did to legitimize Santana's relationship with
Yes.
Britney and really, I mean, her impact will be known for years, a generation, you know?
Yeah, I was just
That's
thinking
really,
that.
really powerful.
And
Yeah,
that's amazing. Like there weren't, I mean, especially not non-white
uh-huh.
Right?
queer like teenagers on television to set that example.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice to have the impact that she put into the character be so obvious, especially between the first and the third, fourth, and fifth
Yeah.
seasons. Like
Yeah.
she helped make that happen from a character with no lines to a vital, important representation.
And she did not phone it in. Like a repeated theme in like the in memoriam things her cast members have said about her is that she showed up every day on time. She knew all of her lines. She knew everyone else's lines,
Hmm.
and like she did not half-ass it.
No. Mm-mm. Which I think is it also speaks to other not I don't want to say other people on the Glee cast, but just in general that I think actors by the end of their seasons or end of their shows can really feel like they're done.
And like it gives me that feeling of regret again. Like I was all in my Clayton bubble when Glee was on. Like it makes me wish that I'd been more invested in Britannia.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some thoughts about the patriarchy in regards to that
Right.
too, even. But you know, it is what it is. And hopefully
Well,
people
we're
who are buying
rewatching it now. We can.
it, yeah. And I am like I don't know. It's not that I care less about Clayton because obviously I still love Kurt and Blaine, but I definitely have a much bigger appreciation for
We definitely can spread our attention now. The
yeah,
Right.
the plain goggles are a little
yeah,
foggy. Can let some other queer relationships in this time around.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so interesting. Actors have like a pre-made memorial. You know,
yeah,
there's always a place to go as a viewer, as a fan, when you don't really get that with even family members or friends. You just there's something
Mhm.
pre-made for you to go back to and relive.
yeah. It's nice, but
Like I can always go back and watch Mrs. Doubtfire. If I'm
yeah,
missing Robin Williams, I got a back catalog that I can return to, which is nice. You know, it's a gone but not gone kind of a thing. Gone but not missing, missing but not what's the whatever it is.
Missing but not gone,
Something.
maybe. I don't
Gone
know.
but not
Forgotten.
forgotten. Thank you. Words are
Probably not
hard.
forgotten. Yeah.
So,
And N Naya left behind a ridiculous amount of amazing songs and performances in Glee.
she
Like,
really did.
thinking about them to record this, I was just like, I didn't even have to look at a list to come
Mhm.
up with 10,
mhm.
15, 20 off the top of my head of just, like, really cool, iconic performances, both
Mhm.
vocal and dance. I mean, she's just a powerhouse.
Yep. Yeah. You know, uh, because our brains are the way they are. You know, you had Heather was the dancer and Leah could belt like all these different categories that we put the cast into, like Michael, Mike the dancer. But she was up there. Like,
Yeah. And
those
she never was kind of put in a corner like that, and yet she
Mhm.
was just
Yeah,
so
she really
good.
wasn't. Like
Yeah.
she did the dancing right alongside Brittany. She did the singing right alongside Mercedes and, you
Mhm.
know, Leah when anyone got to sing along with Leah.
When anyone was allowed to.
Yeah.
Right.
And she had some of the like juiciest like acting scenes. I
Mhm.
Mhm.
mean, she got to actually act sometimes. And I feel like some of that might have been just the fact that she was a dependable cast member. Like if they
And
needed someone who would be solid and be there, she was good at it.
they had such an insane shooting schedule that you would definitely need someone who could learn their lines quickly, get the dance moves down, and hit the songs.
Right.
And if you couldn't do that, I can see how um, the writers would gently push you to the side for someone who could.
She also sang so many different genres and did them all well.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. It didn't feel too pigeonholed into any one thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I think is probably easy. They're trying to give everyone music. They're trying to do whatever just to be like, oh, here, you're going to be the R&B, you're going to be country, you're going to be
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Yep. Can see can see how easy it would have been for them to just give her a genre and nothing else. And to keep her character as the mean bitch.
Right.
I was gonna say the only stereotyping she really got was that, but also
Mhm.
like I do feel like some of that was Naya's actual personality, like
Mhm.
because that's something else that her other cast members have said in a very fond way was that like she would tell it like it was.
Mhm.
And I think some of that, and this is a speculation, I guess, like that's probably why all of the drama with her and Leah happened. Because,
Mhm.
I can't imagine everyone was willing to stand up to Leah, but it sounds like Naya would have.
Right, yeah. Mhm. And it doesn't sound like that would have gone over particularly well with
Yeah.
Leah to fight back a bit. Yeah, I don't know how ensemble casts make it through
Yeah. Especially ones with that
egos.
kind of cast. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're young, they're talented, they're hot. It's hard to keep yourself in check.
They're mostly all sleeping with each other.
Yeah. Well, that's
Not
another.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Some of them were. Like there were some confirmed relationships.
Yep.
But
I would say, like, do we have favorite Naya performances? But, like, there's so many.
we can so what we could do is just leave like a little playlist of them,
Mm.
Mhm.
of like our favorite ones to go
Yeah.
along with the podcast.
Yeah.
That might be nicer than just listing them out.
Right. Right. Let me say the name of a song and then not play it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And we can make, like, a public Spotify playlist. That'd be kinda fun.
Oh yeah, that
I
would
think
be
Like,
that'd be
fun.
these are
great.
our top whatever Naya
Yeah.
slash Santana songs. I do wish she had more personal music available. That would have
Yeah.
been nice.
I do think like a lot of people get shit for writing books in their 20s, but I actually think it's really awesome that she did leave behind a book that talked about like her early years and stuff
Mhm. Yeah.
for
Definitely.
her kid, if nothing else.
Right. Yep. You have something that
Because
they
like
can turn
that's
to
yeah.
and know who your mom was. I don't think most people get that.
Yeah.
You don't
It's fair.
really you don't really get something so personal. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts, comments? I'm hoping no one else dies from the
Yeah.
cast for a while.
Better knock on wood.
Give it a good 50, 60 years before we have to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just give us some time here, man.
I think oh, I will say one more thing. I think it was a really beautiful universe poetic moment that Naya was found on the anniversary of Corey's death.
That is
I don't
Yeah.
so
means
weird.
anything, and
Very weird.
just a weird coincidence, but
Yeah.
it kind of brings that feeling of like, okay, maybe there is some peace and order to the
Mm.
universe a little bit.
I feel like it at least gives the cast something. Yeah, that was bizarre.
I'm not a religious person, but I do think there are like times the universe kind of winks at you, whatever that
Mm.
means. And I
Mhm.
feel like that was one of those times.
A lodestone? That might be too much, but it's a point of contact for everyone to come around. Whatever everyone believes or doesn't believe.
I do hope that people will take water safety even more serious like after
Oh,
this. I
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know how many people have actually been in lakes and boating in their lives, and I've only been a handful of times in my life, but you cannot get me in that water without a life jacket even
Yeah.
before, and I hope that people, like, will think of, respect and honor Naya's memory in that small
Yep.
way, and, like, don't don't rely on I mean, you could be a championship swimmer and
Uh-huh.
still not outswim a
A rip.
whirlpool or a
Yep.
riptide. Like, just
Yeah.
take water safety seriously. There are pools in a million places
Mhm.
in the world. Like, don't fuck around with water because it's
Yeah.
unforgiving.
Yeah,
Um,
like, no blame assigned here,
yeah, absolutely
but
not. Like, tragic accidents happen every
yeah.
day. Like, don't be part of one, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And I know a lot of it, like, I've been swimming my whole life, and life jackets are not comfortable. I get it, but it doesn't take much to go
Mhm.
down and not be able to come back. So, however strong of a swimmer, like you said, you think you are, or however safe the water might seem, lakes are not calm. They might
Right.
seem calm, but they're not. They're often very deep because there's so much shoreline. You get a lot of eddies of waves bouncing back off the shoreline. There's a lot of boats causing wake.
Mhm.
Don't assume because it's pretty that it's safe.
And
And
I
know your
hope
limits. Like, don't drink and boat. Just
also true, yeah.
oh yeah, it's
I saw
summer in Seattle here. There's a lot of boating and like mm, mm, careful. Be careful.
I saw there was, a petition, I think, um, to get the lake that, Naya passed away in marked, like, better signage,
Mhm.
warning people that, it can be deceptively dangerous,
Yep.
so I think that's really important. I think we should treat all lakes as dangerous, as Emily said, like, just better safe than sorry. I hate that. That sounded crass
Yeah.
in the context of this, but, it is
Yeah.
true. Mhm.
Yeah, just don't let an accident ruin everything. That's
Right.
preventable. Like again, no blame assigned. We all do these things.
It's
But
something you may not have thought about before
yeah.
hearing the
Yeah.
stories. One small glimmer of something that could come out of something terrible is just to think about it next time. Yeah.
Mhm. Learn to swim and be safe.
Mhm.
It's rough, especially this summer with everyone trying to be outdoors more because of COVID.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
been, at least in this area, there's been some more accidents of not untrained, but less experienced people out on the water, and it's so sad because it's preventable. So safety first, fun second.
Right. I know life jackets aren't cute, but
Yeah.
they will save your life. So,
But you know what? If you're wearing a life jacket, you can get a waterproof pocket, and then you can have your phone on you.
I mean, that's pretty sweet.
So you don't have to worry as much about your phone if you're out on the water. That's a good thing. Get a little waterproof pouch for your life vest. Get a cute color. Just don't have a black life vest because boats can't see you.
Oh, that's a good
Just
tip.
make it cute. If you gotta wear it, make it cute. Or not. It's a fucking life jacket. But I get it. I mean, especially if you have bigger boobs, it's not comfortable. Like they suck. But wear it. This has been a water safety tip from Glee on the
PSA.
Rocks. We just really care about you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Podcat, stop it. He wants out.
He just came in, brat.
Children. Okay. Any other comments, concerns, affirmations? I sort of just want to watch some Glee now.
Yeah. No, I'm really happy that, we've been recording episodes about Naya storylines. I think that's been also really good for
Yeah,
healing and processing.
I think so. It's been
Talking
nice
with you
that
guys always feels like therapy, so
it does. It does. This is true. Honestly, this was a chance for us to just talk it out.
yeah.
And if people listening, if this helped, and I think we hope it does, then that's what we're hoping for. Well, not closure, but just a little moment to stretch the grief muscles, get them out. Okay. Yes. So this was our little chance to communicate some feelings, and we hope that you guys have been talking to your friends and other fans of the show. And if you haven't been, you should just like reach out, see how people are doing. This is a weird summer, and we're all kind of stressed about everything in general. Um, take boating lessons, stay safe, be careful, wash your hands, and I don't have any other affirmations.
And we'll see you next time. Hear you next time.
Here,
Talk to you
yeah,
next time.
we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
I guess on Glee.